Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every human life when pain shows up uninvited. A heartbreak, a failure, a setback, a dream shattered. And in that moment, we have a choice. We can shrink, we can blame, we can run, we can rise. Because pain, listen to me, pain is not here to torture you. Pain is here to teach you. Pain is the force that exposes your limits and dares you to expand them. It's the fire that burns away who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. It reveals your weaknesses, not to shame you, but to show you exactly where your strength must grow. Some of the most successful people on this planet didn't rise in spite of their pain. They rose because of it. Pain became their mentor, their compass, their fuel. And today you have the same opportunity. So ask yourself, are you going to let pain define you or refine you? Are you going to hide from it or learn from it? Are you going to use it as an excuse to stop or a reason to go further? Remember, this comfort never made anyone unstoppable. It's the struggle that shapes the champion within. Today I invite you to stop avoiding pain and start honoring it. Lean in, listen, grow. Because your greatest teacher isn't in a book, a classroom, or a motivational video. Your greatest teacher is the pain you're facing right now. Let's begin. Pain has a unique way of revealing the truth about who we are at our core. When life is comfortable, when everything flows smoothly, we often convince ourselves that we are strong, disciplined, and prepared. But the moment pain arrives, whether through failure, rejection, heartbreak, or disappointment, our weaknesses are exposed with blunt honesty. Pain strips away the illusions we build around ourselves. It forces us to face the parts of our character we ignored, the skills we avoided developing, and the habits we kept postponing. In other words, pain is not the enemy, it's the mirror. It reflects what we must work on to grow into our best selves. Think about it, you don't realize how weak your patience is until someone frustrates you. You never know how fragile your confidence might be until someone criticizes you or refuses to believe in you. You won't recognize the gaps in your discipline until pressure hits and distractions become tempting. Pain highlights those gaps with clarity, not to bring you down, but to show you where strength must be built. Without pain, our weaknesses remain hidden in the shadows, silently shaping our lives in ways we do not understand. Pain also pushes us into areas where growth is mandatory. If a situation never challenged you, you wouldn't seek improvement. A heartbreak might reveal that you relied too much on someone else for validation. Losing a job may teach you that you lacked essential skills you always avoided learning. Failing in business might reveal a mindset built on fear instead of strategy. Every painful experience teaches you exactly what needs attention. It whispers, fix this, strengthen this, build this. Pain points toward progress like a compass in the dark. When weaknesses are exposed, we have two choices: ignore them or transform them. Many people choose to run away. They avoid discomfort, blame others, or pretend everything is fine. But if you choose the opposite, if you choose to face the pain, you gain power. You start training patience, building confidence, improving discipline, expanding skills. It's uncomfortable, but growth often hurts before it heals. It's similar to working out at the gym. Your muscles tear so they can rebuild stronger. Personal development works the same way. Pain stretches the emotional, mental, and spiritual muscles you didn't even know you had. Pain also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not perfect, that there is always room to grow. Humorously enough, life knows exactly how to expose the weakness you tried hardest to hide. That's not a punishment, it's guidance. Pain gives us feedback that success could never provide. When everything is going right, you might celebrate a skill that actually needs improvement. Failure, however, reveals the truth instantly and accurately. It humbles the ego and strengthens the spirit. Most importantly, pain creates resilience. Once you confront a weakness and turn it into strength, that particular pain loses its power over you. What once broke you becomes powerless. You become harder to discourage, more adaptable, and more confident. People who have never faced pain remain fragile. Even small challenges shake their foundation. But those who lean into pain develop an inner toughness that cannot be purchased, faked, or taught in comfort. They learn how to respond rather than react, how to endure instead of escape, and how to transform struggle into strategy. Over time, pain-trained strength becomes your advantage in life. Every weakness you have the courage to face becomes a weapon against future adversity. You become more capable, more self-aware, and more unstoppable. That's why pain is not just a teacher, it's the greatest teacher. It reveals weaknesses not to embarrass you, but to evolve you. The faster you learn this, the stronger you become. Discomfort is something that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. We are wired to seek comfort because it feels safe, predictable, and familiar. But true growth rarely happens in comfort. In fact, discomfort is the gateway to transformation because it forces us into unfamiliar territory where adaptation, resilience, and innovation are required. Think about the greatest achievements in your life. They didn't come from sitting comfortably. They came from stretching yourself beyond what you thought you could handle. Discomfort pushes you to develop new skills, shift your mindset, and confront fears that have lived beneath the surface for years. When you step into discomfort, you start to discover your true potential. Comfort keeps you stuck within what you already know. Discomfort pushes you into what you could become. For example, consider someone who wants to become stronger physically. If they stay comfortable, never lifting heavier weights or pushing their endurance, their muscles remain the same. It's only when they embrace the burn, the temporary pain and discomfort, that their body is forced to grow. The same goes for life. Emotional and mental muscles grow under strain, not under ease. When challenges stretch your limits, they tear down old beliefs and build new capacities. Discomfort also reveals the fears that have been holding you back. When you stay comfortable, fear becomes invisible, hiding behind excuses and procrastination. But the moment you step outside your comfort zone, fear shows up, and that's when you know exactly what you must overcome. Fear becomes the signal that you are moving toward growth. It targets the areas of your life where confidence must be built and where courage must be practiced. Every time you confront that fear through discomfort, you shrink its power, and in doing so, you expand your own. Another powerful aspect of discomfort is that it builds adaptability. Life is unpredictable and constantly changing. Those who cling to comfort struggle to adjust, but those who regularly push into discomfort develop the flexibility to handle whatever life throws at them. They learn how to pivot, how to think creatively under pressure, and how to maintain clarity when others panic. Discomfort trains your mind to stay calm amidst chaos. The more you embrace it, the more resilient you become. Discomfort also forces self-improvement. When you are challenged, you are required to improve. You have to learn something new, work harder, build discipline, or break an old habit. Without discomfort, you remain stagnant. Growth requires friction between who you are now and who you know you could be. Every successful person you admire has a history of walking straight into discomfort instead of running from it. They know that on the other side of discomfort lies their evolution. The process of discomfort also builds character. It tests your patience, your perseverance, and your willingness to endure struggle for the sake of something greater. In discomfort, you discover whether you are driven by excuses or by commitment. You learn how badly you want your goals, and you're forced to align your actions with your ambitions. Comfort breeds complacency, but discomfort develops grit. The grit you gain through discomfort becomes the fuel that drives you through future obstacles. We cannot ignore the simple truth that comfort feels good in the moment, but leads to regret in the long term. Discomfort feels challenging in the moment, but leads to pride, achievement, and transformation over time. People who avoid discomfort end up living smaller lives, shaped by limitations rather than possibilities. While those who embrace discomfort expand their capacity, skill set, and identity. They become stronger, wiser, and more resourceful. Ultimately, stepping into discomfort isn't just about growth, it's about liberation. It frees you from the fear of failure, the opinions of others, and the limitations of your past. When you train yourself to be comfortable with discomfort, you unlock a level of potential you never knew existed. You begin to understand that every challenge is an invitation to rise. Discomfort is the doorway to the next version of you, and if you walk through it consistently, you will transform in ways you once thought were impossible. Emotional pain is one of the most underestimated forces in human development. When people think of pain, they usually imagine physical struggle, but emotional pain is deeper. It shakes the soul, challenges identity, and forces you to confront feelings you might have buried for years. It hurts not because you're weak, but because you cared, you attempted, or you believed. And in that suffering lies the seed of transformation. Emotional pain pushes you into the uncomfortable territory of self-reflection, analyzing your decisions, your habits, your relationships, and your priorities. Through that reflection, resilience begins to form like armor around your spirit. Mental toughness isn't built when everything feels good. It's forged when life hits you unexpectedly, when someone you trusted disappoints you, when a plan falls apart, or when life seems unfair. In those moments, emotional pain forces you to find your inner voice, the one capable of guiding you when everything else is silent. You begin to learn that your strength isn't measured by how loudly you speak when things are easy, but by how calmly you think when everything feels heavy. Emotional pain teaches you how to regulate your emotions instead of letting them control you. It shows you how to pause, breathe, and analyze instead of reacting impulsively. The resilience developed through emotional pain is not an overnight achievement. It comes from surviving days when you didn't know how you would continue but somehow did. It grows from waking up stubbornly determined to push forward despite the hurt. Every time you survive pain, a message imprints on your subconscious, I can handle this. Eventually, what once destroyed you becomes something you can navigate with clarity and strength. You become emotionally bulletproof, not because pain disappears, but because it loses its ability to break you. Emotional pain also teaches perspective. When you've gone through heartbreak or deep disappointment, smaller issues no longer shake your ground. You develop a wider emotional capacity where you understand that temporary discomfort doesn't equal disaster. People who haven't experienced pain often fall apart at the smallest inconvenience because their emotional threshold has never been tested. Meanwhile, those who faced real emotional storms can stand calm in chaos. That calmness is a superpower few possess. Pain introduces you to inner courage you never knew was there. When your heart is hurting, it's tempting to give up, shut down, or hide. But when you choose to show up despite the pain, you build a kind of courage that becomes permanent. You begin trusting yourself, not just when things are easy, but when everything feels impossible. This trust becomes the foundation of mental toughness. You learn that even when your emotions shake, your decisions don't have to. Emotional pain also strengthens empathy. When you've suffered deeply, you become better at recognizing suffering in others. You listen differently, you respond with compassion, and you support with sincerity. This emotional intelligence makes you better in relationships, leadership, and life. People gravitate toward those who can understand pain because it makes them feel seen and valued. What once broke you ends up elevating your ability to connect with the world. In addition, emotional pain teaches you to detach from external validation. Many people are controlled by the opinions of others, but once you've endured emotional pain, you realize that real strength comes from within, not from approval, but from alignment with your values. This realization creates mental independence. You stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. The most powerful effect of emotional pain is that it forces you to evolve. You cannot stay the same person after a deep emotional wound. You either become bitter or wiser, angry or aware, broken or unbreakable. The choice is yours. Those who choose growth learn to transform pain into purpose. They harness the lessons, the clarity, and the resilience gained from suffering and use it to build the next chapter of their lives. Eventually, emotional pain becomes something you are grateful for. Not because it felt good, but because it shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more complete. Mental toughness is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to move forward despite emotional storms. When you embrace emotional pain instead of avoiding it, you gain depth, strength, awareness, and resilience that cannot be taken away. And that is how emotional pain becomes one of life's greatest teachers. Pain has a powerful way of cutting through the noise of life and revealing what truly matters to you. Most people spend their days caught up in routines, distractions, and surface-level desires. They chase comfort, temporary excitement, and the opinions of others. But when pain arrives, whether through loss, failure, or disappointment, it strips everything down to the essentials. Suddenly you begin to see what is real, what you genuinely care about, and what deserves your energy. Pain forces honesty. It exposes the values you claim to have but never acted on, and it proves which values are actually rooted in your heart. When you experience pain, you learn quickly which relationships matter. Hard times reveal who stays by your side and who disappears. The people who support you during struggle become priorities, while those who fade away show you where to stop investing. Pain helps you understand the difference between those who are truly connected to your soul and those who are only connected to your success, your smile, or your convenience. Through this process, you refine your circle, strengthen meaningful bonds, and let go of shallow attachments that were quietly draining you. Pain also clarifies your priorities in terms of goals and lifestyle. When you lose something important, time, health, opportunities, you suddenly realize what you should have valued all along. Maybe you took your health for granted until illness forced you to appreciate your body. Maybe you wasted time until regret taught you the value of every hour. Maybe you chased material success until emotional exhaustion showed you that peace matters more than applause. Pain realigns your compass, pointing you toward what actually nourishes your life instead of what only looks good from the outside. On a deeper level, pain challenges your identity. It asks, who are you without your achievements? Who are you when things fall apart? In answering those questions, you discover values such as integrity, perseverance, and authenticity. These values often remain hidden during easy times, but pain brings them to the surface. You realize that your character matters more than your comfort, that staying true to yourself matters more than pleasing others, and that growth matters more than perfection. Pain can also reveal negative priorities you unknowingly held. Maybe you cared too much about opinions and too little about your personal growth. Maybe you valued being busy rather than being effective. Maybe you prioritized pleasing others instead of honoring your own boundaries. Pain doesn't just show you what to pursue, it shows you what to release. It teaches you to say no, to draw boundaries, to protect your energy, and to stop pouring into things that don't pour back. In moments of struggle, your internal voice becomes louder. You begin asking hard questions. What am I doing with my life? Why am I tolerating this? What do I really want? Pain pushes you toward uncomfortable truths that spark necessary change. Without pain, many people would continue living on autopilot, but pain wakes you up. It shakes your soul and demands that you pay attention to the direction of your life. Through pain, passion is often born. Many people discover their calling after suffering through something they never expected. They turn heartbreak into art, loss into empathy, and struggle into purpose. Pain reveals what ignites your spirit and what your soul cannot ignore. You begin to understand what you are willing to fight for, sacrifice for, and dedicate your life to. In the end, pain simplifies life. It helps you focus on who you want to become instead of who the world expects you to be. It teaches you that values like peace, love, growth, contribution, and authenticity are more valuable than status, approval, or temporary pleasure. When pain clarifies your priorities, you stop wasting time, you stop chasing validation, you stop settling. Instead, you start building a life aligned with your deepest values. And once your priorities are shaped by pain, you live differently, with intention, with courage, and with unshackable clarity about what truly matters. Struggle is something most people try to avoid, yet it is the very pressure that shapes who you become. When life is comfortable and predictable, there is nothing urging you to grow, change, or strengthen your character. But when the struggle arrives, everything shifts. Suddenly, you are forced to dig deeper, think differently, and tap into parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. Struggle does not define you. It just reveals you. It shows you what you're made of beneath the smiles, the plans, and the expectations. In the middle of difficulty, you discover your true identity, not the version you present to the world, but the version that emerges when the world is not watching. Struggle strips away ego and pride. When everything goes according to plan, it's easy to assume you have total control. But when life becomes difficult, you are humbled. That humility opens your mind and heart to learning. It forces you to listen, reflect, and adapt. Humility is the foundation of wisdom, and struggle is the teacher that introduces you to it. Without difficult moments, most people would continue believing they already know everything. Struggle reminds you that growth is always required, that evolution never ends, and that your identity must expand as life demands more of you. As you fight through challenges, you begin to build confidence, not the loud external kind, but the quiet inner belief that you can handle whatever comes next. Every time you overcome something painful, your inner voice strengthens. It whispers, you survived, that you can survive this. That voice becomes part of your identity. It becomes the source of unshakable confidence. And that confidence cannot be bought or taught. It's earned through the battles no one sees. People who have never struggled may appear confident, but the moment life pushes them, their foundation cracks. Meanwhile, those forged through struggle stand firm because they have already proven their strength to themselves. Struggle also forces you to develop discipline and resilience. When life gets heavy, excuses become useless. You either push forward or fall back. Every time you choose to move forward, you strengthen the discipline muscle inside you. Discipline shapes identity by creating consistency. It gives you control over your actions despite your emotions. Those who avoid struggle never learn discipline because they never experience the need for it. But when times are tough, discipline becomes essential. You learn to wake up when you don't feel like it, to keep going when motivation runs out, and to focus when distractions scream for attention. Over time, this mindset forms the backbone of who you are. Struggle also teaches emotional intelligence. When you face hardship, you learn to manage frustration, navigate disappointment, and process fear. These emotional lessons become part of your personality. They teach you how to remain calm when others panic, how to think clearly under pressure, and how to support others with empathy. When struggle shapes your identity, you begin to see the world differently. You view problems as puzzles instead of threats, and setbacks as setups for something better. This emotional maturity is rare, and it becomes one of your greatest strengths. Another powerful part of struggle is the clarity it brings. Hardship forces you to reevaluate what you want, what you believe, and what you're willing to fight for. It reveals your passions and your priorities. Many people discover their life purpose through struggle because it strips away illusions. When everything falls apart, you're left staring at what actually matters. Purpose grows from those ashes. The person you become during your struggle is often the truest version of who you are meant to be. Struggle also creates gratitude. When life is easy, gratitude fades. You may overlook simple blessings and take progress for granted. But when you fight for something, when you sacrifice for growth, you appreciate every step forward. That gratitude becomes part of your identity. Grateful people are grounded, patient, and kind. Their hearts expand, and they carry a sense of fulfillment that comfort alone can never deliver. Over time, struggle builds a unique type of confidence. The quiet certainty that even if life knocks you down again, you will rise. Other people may fear failure, but you do not. You've met failure before. You've learned from it, grown from it, and evolved because of it. Each struggle adds another layer to your identity, making you wiser, stronger, and more adaptable. Eventually, struggle stops being a threat and becomes an opportunity. In the end, struggle does not just shape your identity. It gives you an identity. It turns doubt into belief, fear into courage, and weakness into strength. Without struggle, you would never meet the strongest version of yourself. And once you do, you become unstoppable. Those who embrace pain do not do so because they enjoy suffering. They do it because they understand what pain creates. They recognize that pain is the currency of growth, and everything worthwhile in life comes with a cost. When you are willing to pay that price, you gain access to levels of strength, skill, discipline, and purpose that comfort alone can never give. Pain becomes a teacher, a guide, and a sculptor. It shapes your character and pushes you beyond the limitations you once believed were unbreakable. When pain is embraced, not avoided, it transforms your mindset. You begin seeing challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to become more capable and more resilient. People who avoid pain often remain stuck. They cling to comfort because comfort feels safe, predictable, and familiar. But what they don't realize is that comfort carries its own form of pain, the pain of regret, missed opportunities, and untapped potential. Avoiding pain might protect you in the short term, but it harms you in the long run by keeping you small. Those who embrace pain choose growth over comfort. They willingly step into difficult situations, confronting fears, learning new skills, and stretching their capacities because they understand that greatness requires discomfort. Pain becomes a doorway instead of a dead end. When you embrace pain, your mindset shifts dramatically. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That single shift in perspective unlocks the ability to learn from every struggle. Instead of feeling defeated, you feel educated. Instead of quitting, you adapt. Those who run from pain never learn this lesson. They remain students of ease. And ease is nothing to teach. But pain has a curriculum for every season of life. It teaches patience when things don't go your way, resilience when plans fall apart, humility when ego becomes too loud, and courage when fear tries to hold you back. Embracing pain also builds emotional endurance. Pain demands that you keep going when your heart is tired and your mind is overwhelmed. Through persistence, you develop stamina not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. This endurance becomes a superpower in life. When others break under pressure, you stand firm because pain has trained you. You have built a tolerance for discomfort. You know how to breathe through chaos, how to think while hurting, and how to move forward when motivation is gone. This is the foundation of being unstoppable. Those who embrace pain gain a deeper level of self-awareness. Pain reveals your triggers, your weaknesses, and your patterns. By confronting them, you become more skilled at managing your emotions and reactions. You learn how to respond instead of react, how to stay grounded instead of spiraling. This emotional intelligence makes you stronger not just internally, but in your relationships, leadership, and life decisions. Pain becomes a mirror, reflecting who you are and who you have the potential to be. Most people never see this reflection because they turn away from the mirror too quickly. As you continue to embrace pain, confidence grows naturally. Confidence is not built from praise, success, or applause. It comes from being tested and discovering you can endure. Every time pain challenges you and you refuse to quit, you strengthen your belief in yourself. Eventually, a transformation occurs. You no longer fear hard times because you've learned that hardship is temporary, but the strength it builds is permanent. The more you face pain, the more you trust your ability to rise. Avoiding pain keeps people stagnant, but embracing pain leads to mastery. Those who become great in any field, athletes, leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, have something in common. They willingly sacrifice comfort to master their craft. They endure criticism, failure, and exhaustion because their vision is bigger than their discomfort. Pain becomes fuel. It becomes motivation. It becomes part of their identity. They understand that mastery demands sacrifice, discipline, and resilience. In contrast, those who avoid pain develop habits of quitting, doubting, and making excuses, which trap them in mediocrity. Eventually, embracing pain leads to liberation. You free yourself from the fear of struggle. You become independent from external validation and less affected by temporary discomfort. You realize nothing can truly break you except refusing to grow. Pain stops being the enemy and becomes proof of effort, progress, and transformation. You start chasing growth instead of comfort. When pain shows up, you welcome it as a sign that you're evolving. In the end, those who embrace pain master life. They achieve not because they are fearless, but because they are willing. They are willing to be uncomfortable, willing to fail, willing to be misunderstood, and willing to struggle in pursuit of something greater. They step into the pain others run from, and that is why they rise. Comfort is a cage, but pain is the key that unlocks your potential. Embrace it, and you become unstoppable.